cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Customer, clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like a cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change 'em. I never switched up. Been down since day one. Steady social. People change 'em.
What's up?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good. Apparently, I'm having internet issues. I'm right by the internet box. So, I don't know what that is. How y'all doing?
Good. Uh-oh.
So, I get
issues.
I think that's all of us.
Right.
And then short emphasis is on too as well. So
Maybe it's the sidewalk that Bezos is doing.
Say that again.
I said maybe this is the problem with sidewalk that Bezos is doing. Jeff Bezos, he's creating that sidewalk which siphons off a little bit of everyone's internet and makes it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget that guy.
Jeff Bezos. I actually haven't heard of this sidewalk thing you're talking about. What's going on with that? It siphons off your internet.
Yeah, so Jeff Bezos. Well, hello DBT fans.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Dope Black Thoughts Live. Bow.
Oh man. Okay. I gotta email the link to Mr. Carter. So yes. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's all good. Just just trying to get myself back in tune, if you will.
Nice.
Did you make it fully back from Hawaii?
Yeah, slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. And then what's funny, it seems that everybody else is going to Hawaii now. So like, wow. And so, everything's opening up. I'm not gonna lie, Hawaii was great. I didn't do as much work and just tried to enjoy time with my pops and his wife, and then just try to enjoy time overall with the wife. So yeah, it was good. I can't complain. So
Nice.
How you doing, Savannah? You sound like you're getting over something.
I am. I have a bit of laryngitis, so I apologize to everyone, but I wanted to hop on and still, be part of the show. So I'm getting over a allergy cold.
ooh,
Suck.
goodness. Yeah, that is not good.
No. You would think that I would stop yelling around the house, but that hasn't happened. So my husband is not quite happy that this is gonna happen, but he wish it would take away my voice completely.
Oh, come on now.
All right.
So what's
Hey,
our topic for today? What's going on? What's happening?
let me bring this up. Let's see. Can y'all see that?
Oh yeah.
What do y'all think about that?
So
Juneteenth.
Mm.
at the Atlanta IKEA, they changed the menu for their lunch to fried chicken, watermelon, collard greens. I'm waiting to hear if there was Kool-Aid offered or not.
Yes.
Good Lord. I mean,
Yes.
my
that was
biggest problem. Well, what do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about it?
Go ahead.
It's funny. I was listening to some show or on the radio, and they started to talk about how before you know it, a certain group of folks are going to be having fried chicken and and watermelon on the menu, or they're going to be having soul food during Juneteenth. And then, sure enough, almost immediately, it happened. You got IKEA in Atlanta. Now, granted, Atlanta contains a lot of folks of our hue, if you will. So I don't know. It's just crazy to me. I don't know what to say.
Does IKEA change their menu on Cinco de Mayo?
Bet you they do.
Do they? Do they put out tacos and do they change them? I thought they always serve the same thing no matter what.
Ooh, that's a good question. That is a good question.
Because
That's a really good question.
part of me wants to be offended, but the other part of me is saying, well, if you change your menus for other cultures, why wouldn't you change yours for soul food? I get watermelon. People, everyone wants to be upset about watermelon because it has a history behind it. And fried chicken is universal in every culture. I don't know a culture that doesn't like fried chicken. So I get that part, but they tried to change their menu to something that was soul food. Could we be mad?
Well, they said that 33 people had called out sick, which started an outrage. The manager wrote an email saying that he deeply apologized and that the intentions of the group were good, but it was done by a few co-workers, none of which happened to be of our group. So there you have it. So, what can you say, in that aspect? It's just symbolism, misappropriation, subjective mindsets, you name it, that's what it is. They said, does this truly, and the folks who made this decision said that they believe that they were just representing the culture and traditions by celebrating these foods.
But wait. It's Atlanta, all right? It's Atlanta. We, like Marcus just said, what has a certain hue. They could have asked somebody. Like, hey, I know we're all, the same color sitting around this room, and we would like to put chicken and fried chicken and watermelon on the IKEA menu, and they could have asked anybody. But they're like, wow. No, I got this.
So let me ask you this. If they wanted to show something for their menu that represented the Black community, what could they have put on? What would have been better?
That was my question in my head.
Is banana pudding okay? Can I get you asked, I'm getting answers.
Replace watermelon with banana pudding.
Okay.
So we would have been offended either way. We would have been offended if there were chitlins. We'd have been offended if there were ribs. We would have been offended no matter what.
I don't want to be that guy, but they got ribs. They got ribs and banana pudding. I'm like, I'm not offended. What the Swedes and if they got ribs and banana pudding, it ain't those Swedish people from IKEA cooking it.
Right.
Why are you offended that it was collard greens and fried chicken? We do eat collard greens.
I'm not offended at collard greens. But my question was this: when else are you serving fried chicken? When else are you serving collard greens? Did you just wait till Juneteenth? What was being served during Black History Month? What were you doing? I'm just wondering what the menu looked like on other days.
Right, and that's why I asked, do they serve tacos on Cinco de Mayo? Do they switch it up for other cultures?
That's a fair question. Question.
I'm looking it up now. I'm curious.
I'm really curious. And also, if they serve tacos on Cinco de Mayo, there's a whole lot of people that would have a lot of righteous indignation and say, hold up, when else are you serving tacos? And what makes you think that just because it's Cinco de Mayo that you should serve tacos?
How else do you show that you're in support of that culture?
Yeah, we want IKEA to be woke.
Right, but then we get mad at them. They're like, damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Like, can we put up streamers? Like, what's the line? Like, you tell me. But that's the second part of it. They could have asked somebody.
So And I say this on Indigenous Peoples Day, are they serving the street tacos that they make? Those are like
masa.
The masa street tacos, like right? And then if they do, are they in trouble? Like, when do we draw the line on support? We ask for support, and then we get mad when we get it.
So, well, let's share a little bit, and let's see if this, I don't know, changes minds. I don't know. Here we go. IKEA in Covina celebrates Cinco de Mayo, Para Mama with free outdoor concert and special in-store festivities May 8th and 9th. And it looks like they had outdoor concert musical performances by international musical star Ana Barbara, Latin Billboard chart toppers, Mexican music talent. I'm just looking for food. Let me just see. I'm just seeing if there's anything for food. Workshops in Spanish and English, kids arts and crafts. Wow. This store went all out. But
no food.
Food.
So
but you know what? Where was that located? That was in California.
Covina, California. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe IKEA gives these regional stores the ability to kind of reflect the people around them.
Yep.
Right. I mean, that is a lot. Maybe once again, this is just these guys they were like, okay, Atlanta, you got to show out, and they were just misjudged about what they were doing. A soul band, a jazz band, like they got mariachi band dancers. They're in Atlanta, a line of
yeah.
They could have done a bunch of stuff. They were just, we got it.
Perhaps IKEA would do better to do that, to reach out to have black bands and things like that.
It's Atlanta.
They should have maybe just hired a black caterer and let the black caterer take it.
They're like, IKEA's like, we've got a couple of suggestions. No,
the problem is they didn't have the right people on the committee to tell them, no, stand down, don't do that.
Thank you.
Plus, also, it wouldn't have been that much to get Jodeci, right? You can get them for a little bit of nothing.
DBT could put together a concert and get Jodeci. We could get Casey and JoJo just for like free legal advice.
Exactly.
Right. and since Bone Thugs and Harmony is down to just Bone Thugs, they could have done it.
Like maybe a thug. We could have got one thug. Welcome to Atlanta. We got one thug. Hit it.
Exactly. Probably get 112 as well. Shoot.
It would just be like two.
TLC, TC, but
you would be able to get one and two. We couldn't get all the 112. We just get the last. We just get two. Now I did like the background singing.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, IKEA. I've been to IKEA. No, I've been to one in my life. I don't get it. So.
Oh, IKEA? Oh man. Every time I go there, I buy something. Every time.
I don't like putting together my own furniture, but I love IKEA. I like going in there and looking around for ideas, but I don't like putting together my own furniture.
Yeah,
I don't mind. I make the kids do it.
Yeah, but it falls apart in a month. I love IKEA though. Shout out to IKEA. Try again, don't give up. That's what I say to IKEA.
No doubt.
Because you get lost every time you go in there.
They got arrows.
You get lost every time you go in.
So what are we saying? So are you giving IKEA a pass in Atlanta, or are we saying no?
I give them a pass. I say they tried. Go ahead, Carter.
They get a passing grade. C's earned degrees for trying. They put in the effort. Your book report was, crap, but you put in the effort. You got the name right. I can't give them no A. Can't give them no. The dude out in Covina, they get an A.
Yeah,
they did it right. They did Cinco de Mayo right, but notice they didn't do it on Cinco de Mayo. They did it on Cinco the nueve and ocho.
IKEA probably the problem too. IKEA was like, dude, like on Monday, like, dude, did you just hear Juneteenth holiday? Like, oh, we gotta do something. We gotta do something.
So the question, but I do have that question: who's cooking the food? Who cooked the food at the IKEA? That's my question.
Did they have a black caterer? But their heart was in the right place. Here's what I say: damned if they do, damned if they don't. I say, don't give up, IKEA. Try again next time. Put some black people on your committee. They'll tell you when you shouldn't do something.
So they had the same guy back there cooking the meatballs, and they're like, "Dude, we need you to change it up. I need you to change it up."
But look, I didn't give him a grade yet. I'm failing them. There was too many black people they could have asked. They were surrounded. They were outnumbered. They're surrounded. They don't look right. It's black people that are intelligent, educated, business owners, caterers, like you said. All the ideas that you guys said are why they failed. There was too many people they could have gotten advice from that they must not have.
But I still go back to the fact that what else would they have served? And would we have gotten
what do you think the advice would have been? I agree. I agree.
That question.
Ribs. Okay, ribs.
Ribs and banana pudding. I would have
salad.
I would go, IKEA, if you serve ribs and banana pudding, you might get yourself a customer.
So just because it was fried chicken and watermelon, they were in trouble.
The watermelon, that was a bridge too far for me. For me, it was too far.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna give them a B minus, C plus. I'm gonna just give it that. Looks like Kevin's giving an F. Where you at?
No, not a like. It's not a bad F. Like a 60s. It's like in the 60s.
That's that new F. You're bad at. What's a good F?
You almost made it.
That's some nonsense I tried to tell my parents. No, it's a good F.
Right. You know what? I'm gonna give them a pass this time. I think try again. Don't give up. You never. I think I agree with Kevin. There's too many people that you could have reached out to, but I'm not gonna give up on you. You try.
IKEA, that's your one.
Right.
That's your one, IKEA.
All right. So here we go. All right, then I'm gonna flip it up again. I'm gonna give y'all this next one here. This is one y'all may have to spend a second or two on, just because subject wise, it is what it is. Here we go.
Yeah.
Y'all see that? That was I mean, what can you say? There was approximately $4 billion aimed at helping distressed minority farmers on the basis that they said they're going to stop it on the basis that it would likely violate white farmers' rights to equal protection. Now, there's a whole lot that can be discussed when you talk about equal protection.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, farmers are some of the most subsidized Americans. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
From free range, from grazing rights, water rights. Go look at Lake Powell. That water that is slowly leaving Lake Powell is not for consumption by humans. It's for us trying to grow crops in the desert. Two, black farmers from sharecropping on have been the ones to be targeted first for their land, then for not being paid what their crops worth, and then, and this is the big one, this is what was part of this original, this is what was part of the original stimulus plan, was they were also, whereas certain, as a group, farmers could just go get loans based on next year's crop. And significantly, black farmers were not given access to that, to where we were just losing land. This is land that was this is like generational land. This is in family property. This is generational land. This is in the East. This is North Carolina, South Carolina, along that coast. This is land that your family, built up from, we couldn't have started until 1865, but at some point we had this generational property, and it was slowly taken from us. And this was trying to help that and redress that. And I mean, we had the same thing here where we had, I believe it was the barbershop during COVID. There was a barbershop. There was a white barbershop that I believe sued because part of Colorado's COVID package was to assist minorities. I don't know the end game of that, but it's the same thing.
So the problem that I have is these programs aim to address historically disadvantaged Black and brown farmers and deal with the debt that they have accumulated because they were not allowed or able to receive the subsidies that Carter talks about that other farmers who were not Black were able to receive. And that's really disappointing. They did it in Wisconsin too. So all of these have been filed by a white farmer, with the exception of one that was filed by a group called what is it? America's Legal something. Yeah, America's First Legal.
America First.
Which is America First Legal, a group founded by former Trump White House aides. So there you have it.
See, that's what I wanted to touch on, because a very similar situation happened under George W. Bush. There was targeted relief towards minority farmers, and it was pushed back as well. There's people, not just Democrats, that are thinking about Black and brown farmers and marginalized communities. And it takes someone from a Trump administration, a Trump aide, to interpret the law in such a way as to want to block it and say that's not fair. Because we all know, I was going to ask earlier, you said equal representation or equal, just equality. Does it really exist? And if it doesn't exist, then we need to create some targeted inequality in some areas to try to level the playing field in this specific industry where it's basically all subsidized.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
Well, in and of itself, like you said, the last thing you said, it's subsidized. This is a market that is subsidized by the U.S. government and has been for 100 years.
And this right here is a good question. But how do you address the historical inequities which are based upon discrimination in race? That's the question. You don't now get to say, well, we can't do this for you because it's unequal. It's unfair to the white, to the white farmers. But okay, well, what happened the past 200 years? What the heck?
Well, in their point of view, it was already fair. In a point of view, let's say that. Right. In a certain point of view, it was already fair. Anything you do to the system that doesn't benefit me is unfair. Yep. But it's the fact that, we know that the system is inherently unfair in certain parts. It just is. 50 years ago, I believe it was the civil rights legislation didn't pass until 1965. So for 50 years, so we are inching towards democracy, but we have to admit that for that first 200, 150 years, we were not a true democracy, and we're inching toward it. And so people are like, well, I want it to be fair like it used to be, but it wasn't.
That's the whole thing. Any discussion of normalcy or back the way it was or how we've always done things, those are the words of folks who don't recognize. They either choose not to recognize what the historical significance of those words or they know it. They're just playing ignorant. But Nicole is right. That lawsuit reminds her of the social equity license for cannabis. And that's exactly correct. There are fights with respect to that because Black and brown folks don't have the same access to cannabis, and so they're filing lawsuits. And now you got farmers doing the same thing, although they know that they were always at an advantage compared to the Black farmers. What do you say?
Yeah. And at the end, creating equity requires some unequal support. You know, if the shortest person is going to see at the same height as the tallest person, you're going to have to give them the most of a lift. And you've been creating a deficit for centuries. And to undo that deficit, in some ways, we're going to have to help out some other people more than we help you out. And that's not me hurting you. That's me just trying to even the playing field. You know, but they say equality looks like or justice looks like injustice to the oppressor. You know, if you think that it's unfair for the little guy to get help, you're probably part of the problem.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And what scares me is that this, to me, opens the door for a lot more affirmative action lawsuits in business, in the private sector. So, you know, I hope not, but they'll take their lead from this.
Yes. Did you see this brought up? Maybe you want to make sure I don't get it wrong. Is it Harvard? Yes. Harvard getting sued for discriminating against Asian students.
The Asian students, they lost that. Or Harvard ended up winning on that lawsuit, I believe. I'm pretty sure they won on that. I have to go back and check that out. But you're right. You are exactly correct.
Well, is it Sweat v. Painter? Is it Sweat v. Painter? No, I'm looking up. I don't want to get it wrong. The law school, the suing of the law school by an individual who didn't get in.
Right.
And it's not Sweat v. Painter. It's something. It's not that. So an individual mad that a law school has sought diversity in order to seek diversity, there's only 100 spots, right? Somebody's not going to get in, and you then sue the institution because you're the person to get in, and you're like, well, look at this person, look at this person, look at this person. Even though law schools have decided that diversity is the way. That's what we painter.
I mean, it's right now. It's like CRT. I had a discussion with a person the other day about CRT, and I basically told them, don't mention CRT to me unless you can tell me when it started, where it started, who coined the term, and who are the purveyors of CRT. And then when you start posing questions as to what CRT means, and I'm saying don't read off your no left turn card. No. Read to me what CRT is. They can't give you a definition or an understanding of what it is. And I'm not trying to be offensive to folks because it's going to make them uncomfortable, but the only people that I've seen complaining about CRT, they're not black, they're not brown. But here's the thing. I'm going to say something controversial. I don't want CRT taught in elementary schools because CRT was created in legal academia, in college, in law school to study the intersection of racism and law.
Right.
That's way over the heads of any elementary, middle school student. And it shouldn't be taught there. But you know what I do think? We should be teaching history, proper American history. And what is American history? American history does involve that black people were brought from Africa against their will, tied in chains, put on boats under the deck, brought over here for over many months. Many died when they got here, and they remained in chains and they were sold like cattle. That's American history. That occurred. To say anything different is a travesty.
Yeah. History is history. Just teach it.
So there's the question right there. So far, and Kevin, you know this, we've had one or two people who have come and talked about CRT, critical race theory. But here's the thing. I would like to know who's teaching critical race theory in our schools. I don't think there's anyone teaching critical race theory in our schools, because to teach critical race theory takes a profound understanding of exactly what critical race theory is designed to study. And no one's teaching that in schools, and definitely not in APS. No one's qualified. However, if people are in our schools teaching American history as to what really happened, that's not CRT. Right. And that's what folks don't seem to understand. So Nicole asked if I think this will be an issue for the election. It may be. But here's what I've discovered watching other districts go through these things is that it's become a catchphrase. They don't get it. People don't, because they don't know what CRT is, they put it down and they think it's some theory of, making the white student feel guilty and making the black student feel as if they were oppressed. And when you study CRT, if you've ever actually read an article on it or even read any one of the folks who created or coined the theory, you understand that racism and the effect of school is, if anything, it's minuscule. However, they do study how racism intersected with the laws that were created for schools, such as Brown versus Board of Education. How did racism affect that decision? That is something that's part of CRT. But once again, that's not being taught in elementary or middle school, and it shouldn't be, because this was developed for high-level thinkers in academia and college. And that's the key there. So, and you're right, people do interchange CRT with curriculum. That's exactly correct, Nicole. And unfortunately, I don't know how to get folks to change that, because when you try to actually have an intellectual conversation about it, no, CRT is the same as DEI. It's like, no, it's not at all, which tells you that they've never actually researched it. But my answer stands. No, we shouldn't teach CRT in elementary or middle school. It's not appropriate. Not even high school at that stage. Once again, developed for high-level thinkers to study. It's actually supposed to, I think they use the word to interrogate the findings of racism and law and how it affected the creation of law in that aspect. Redlining, Reconstructionist theories, all of that stuff. But people do interchange CRT with history curriculum. I'm done talking.
Well, no, and this is for both of you guys. They're using the CRT as almost a bludgeon or a hammer to knock things out of curriculum. But specifically the teaching of history, we're like, okay, we're showing up mad at this, and what will make us feel better is if you take these things out of the history books, which is, in my mind, scary.
Yeah,
that's real scary, actually.
Yeah,
that's scary. But this is the problem. There's also another interchange that's happening. CRT is being combated in the media, in the mainstream media, with anecdotes. This is an objective study. This is a study that looks at the phenomenon of racism throughout the entirety of our democracy over a country, in the judicial system and whatnot. Just talking about like large numbers, talking about massive demographics, talking about entire populations. And it's being combated, like say on your Fox Newses of the world, your OAN networks of the world, people that purvey, BS. And you take anecdotes like, oh, well, there was a training manual at Coca-Cola in one location that said, be less white, or some other diversity training said, apologize to black people, just for being non-black or for being white, or what have you. That's not CRT. That's not even combating racism. That's idiotic. That's an individual anecdote, and that is not the full study of critical race theory. A theory takes a whole lot to become theory. It's not individual classes. It's an entire understanding of a phenomenon.
Right. It's amazing to me how they're willing to water down history and remain ignorant instead of learning from mistakes and moving forward to become a better nation. I mean, go ahead.
No, that's it. That the knowledge and the pursuit of knowledge I don't understand how we have people who are literally anti-learning.
Right. He wants to remain ignorant. That just does not, it doesn't even sound appealing. But in order to learn, in order to move forward, you got to learn from your mistakes.
You have to, and as an individual, especially as you start moving through.
As a society, for sure. I mean, where would we be if we didn't learn from what we did wrong in the beginning?
Well, and then question certain aspects. You're like, wait a minute, hold on. I mean, I know it's bad when we find out there's no Santa Claus, but at a certain point, you have to, Mom, Dad, all right, look, I got questions, right? Well, think of that on think of that as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old. Like, wait a minute, hold on. I've been watching all these John Wayne movies. Then all of a sudden we got BET. Wait a minute. Like, there's got to be a questioning. There's got to be a questioning of what you know, and that questioning turns you into a person. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Here's another thing: is there was a decades-long campaign of anti-intellectualism, right? Anti-academia. They're anti-college, anti-university. So anything that's being taught in these institutions is kind of painted with a broad brush, as long as it's not ag, right? Like if it's ag, then I guess there was no problems with it. No one believes that the new farm equipment, the new ways of growing your crops and your animals it was being taught by people that are just woke and trying to teach you new ways to make bigger cows, even though the cows are getting bigger and bigger and the corn is getting bigger and sweeter. But for some reason, when they tell you new ways to understand the dynamics between Black people, white people, people that identify as different genders or not, or without gender, or different sexualities, or asexual, or what have you, when they're teaching you new things, now I don't have to listen to that because you came from a university. You're one of those woke professors, but you didn't say that when it was Ted Cruz who went to Harvard, right? I don't understand. I don't know whose education do you recognize as true.
I think one of the last places that you encounter people who are not just like you is at a large university. It's one of the last places where people are willing to actually have honest conversations. I don't even say honest, just conversations. And it's the last one that you look at the people you hang out with, look at the people when you go home to your family. When you go out and have fun, you go out with people who are like-minded. But the last place are these institutions, these large institutions, these colleges. Is the last place that you will have a honest conversation with somebody who completely disagrees with you, and you meet them. You got to sit next to them every day at the child line. You gotta, you got classes with them. You have, especially once you get to other levels, you have those smaller classes where it's the last place that you have these places where you can, okay, we're gonna have a conversation. All right, fine. What do you think? All right, well then, bam, bam, bam. But that does not happen anymore. That does not. As we grow older, it just doesn't. You don't go anywhere outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Y'all see that from Brian?
They'll attack me for teaching about institutional racism, but applaud me when I teach about civil rights leaders who advocate gun ownership.
It's true.
What you want to teach? Yep. Ignorance, hypocrisy, bigotry, plain and simple.
Literally, the antithesis to knowledge.
Right. There's another team. There's education.
But I have to mention, since we got Omar on, he has a little bit of fan club there.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Omar Montgomery has entered the building.
I got to give props to Omar. I don't have it here. I don't know if you remember about 3 weeks ago, Jason, one of the co-hosts, was on talking about his 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And you kind of made the comment, well, you guys should do a voter registration. I'm like, okay. I reached out. It turns out there's a brand new Texas, I want to have him come on, Texas House member. And he's like, yeah, you want to be, especially for my hometown, it's crazy. He's a Democrat, about 30-year-old Democrat, just won the seat. And we're going to set up a voter registration booth at the 3-on-3 Taylor Daily Press basketball tournament. Damn.
Nice.
Yeah, that's another
You're
topic.
muted, Omar.
We need that topic. Yeah, we can't hear you.
That's good to hear, man.
Good to see you, though.
Yeah, you look good.
Still nothing. No.
Can't hear you. But especially in Texas, Mike. Especially in Texas.
Well, that's why I wanted to get it, dude. Because when he did that, I haven't lived in Texas in 20 years, right? And so I went back and looked up my own home because they had to find out you got to find out who your senator is, who your house, your Texas senator, your Texas house. Had to walk down that line. I get to mine. I put in my mom's address and where Jason's at, and I'm like, dude, it's 30-year-old kid from Round Rock, right? Democrat. Kind of, I don't know how he wanted to see, but shout out to him because that part of Texas. And because Omar said it, I reached out to his office, set us up with a nonpartisan. They're going to set us up with a nonpartisan crew, so it's not just his crew; it's a nonpartisan crew. You come in, and we're going to put something up. I'm going to find something with Jason. Put something up. You come in, 3-on-3 basketball tournament. If you're not registered, get registered. What does it hurt? It's going to be fun.
Wow.
I saw something on Facebook. I really wanted to hear Omar's take on CRT, especially since he's working.
He's in the.
And here we go. Here he comes. And
but
now,
keep in mind, we will have CRT conversation on Saturday because we have a special guest coming on.
Who's coming on Saturday? Nobody. Who?
Amen Raw, principal.
Omar, can we hear you?
No, we can't hear you.
Nothing.
We need to fire our IT guy.
Yeah, who is that?
When I see him, I'm going to smack him.
No, he tell me spot. You see him, tell me spot. Leave his keys.
Yeah, so I know
he owes me $100 too.
His card, key, and his badge at his desk.
So I know we'll have a big discussion on CRT this weekend. I think that'll be good and interesting. We're gonna put it out there for folks. We'd love to hear their thoughts on it. But here's my thing: you got a group of educated folks here, a group of educators in that aspect. If you want to have a discussion on CRT, make sure that you actually read up on what CRT is before we start having the discussion. Now, y'all have already heard my opinion, and that is that I don't believe that CRT should be taught in elementary, middle, or for that fact, high school. But I gave you my reasons why. So I'm definitely interested to hear everybody else's on that week or when we get to talking about it. But I definitely want to hear about it from others as well. So facts on facts at that stage. Omar, you got voice still? You got voice? He need to upgrade to a Mac.
Here we go again.
Team iOS. Hey, we have one more topic we need to talk about.
What do we miss?
Yeah, let's hit it.
What is it?
Hit me.
Okay, well, we are talking about Derek Chauvin back in the news.
Hold on.
Okay.
I got you.
So
I got you. There we go.
Yeah.
It's Friday, right?
Go ahead.
Tomorrow?
That's tomorrow. So he's about to be sentenced, y'all. So that's what I'm curious. I'm looking at some defense attorneys, paralegal over here. I'm trying to get some predictions. You know, you got probation to 40 years.
We cannot have. I think here's the thing. He needs to be very careful. And I would really, really say 2 words to him: Reginald Denning. Don't let it happen.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay. Talk to me about the Reginald Denning connection.
Reginald Denning. So after the Rodney King trial ended, Reginald Denning was the one who was pulled out of his truck and beaten because people were not happy with the verdict for the Rodney King trial. So I'm not saying that could happen again. I'm just saying don't have people in the streets upset because the world saw this case unfold. The world saw the death of George Floyd, and nobody thought that this was an accident. And I'm sure that most people don't think that this deserves a slap on the wrist. So they talked about how Judge Cahill he's been on the bench for 14 years. He's a very impartial judge, is what his peers have said about him. I know nothing about him. I'm hoping that that carries forward and that that shows in his decision on how to sentence him.
Well, this article says that he's likely to sentence in the middle someplace. In the middle between probation and 30 years is 15.
Right.
I don't know, but I'm not a defense attorney, so I don't know. I don't know what should be done. I'm neutral minded.
Wow, wait,
Are you?
Nice. Slide in there. I like it.
I think we got Omar. Omar, can you hear us? Can you?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
I had to switch. And by the way, the IT person is me, so I'm not firing me. And two, I have both a Mac and a PC, so I'm good either way. That's why I'm able to hop back on with no problems, bruh.
Oh my goodness. Fair enough. So anyway, I don't know. You work for Cherry Creek, so I don't know. Do you have a thought as it relates to CRT in that aspect, or is that too close to home at this stage?
It's close to home, but let me say this: last night, over close to 90-something parents showed up to talk about inclusive curriculum and culturally responsive education. And they talked about it from the perspective of, if we don't have this type of lens in our education system, then our kids would be the ones that suffer. While outside, there were people dressed in militia tactical gear trying to intimidate people. I'm gonna say this: them parents wasn't intimidated. They stood strong. They stayed up until 1 o'clock in the morning to speak. And, they let their voice be heard. And so for me, the parents, I don't need to speak on it. The parents spoke on it. And the parents and the community came out in full force.
Wow. Excellent. That's excellent. I love it. I love it too. And by the way, that brother Amin Ra Jr. that's coming on the show, hey, that brother gonna bring the fire because he's a relative. That's my blood brother. Oh. That's my younger brother. Okay.
And the work that he is doing in Los Angeles, the book that he just published, Revolutionary Education, he's changing how we look at curriculum, how we look at managing schools. I'm just so proud of him and the work that he's doing. We have two different last names, but we have the same father.
That's awesome.
He's this Saturday, so tune in, all you viewers, so that we can have a great conversation. We can ask a lot of questions of Amin Ra and make him feel welcome.
Thank you.
And Omar, call your prediction. What do you think? 30 years, slap on the wrist, probation, house arrest.
What
do you call him? What do you think he's gonna get?
I think it's gonna be 30 years, but I think it's going to be appealed, and depending on how the appeal go, it may get reduced. But I think it'd be 30 to life.
I hope you're right. Then again, I worry about the appeal myself. So if it's something reasonable, like in the middle, you're less likely to get an appeal.
I'm not concerned about the appeal. That's just me. I'm not concerned about the appeal, but that's just me. Appeals they take some years, they take some time, and you have to find error, generally in error that was created by the judge, or allowing certain things done by one of the attorneys. But overall, for the most part, when you listen to the quote unquote experts, this for the most part was a pretty clean trial. So, but you never know these days, because look at what happens, all the stuff that happens, and you're like, that'll never happen. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that happened. So I guess we'll see.
I always say the Black community has always been prepared for, whatever takes place. And I'm sure that, I hope that justice is served. At the same time, if it's not, then I think the community will. Let me say this: those people that has to be reelected, those DAs, those people who are involved in the justice system, I think and judges. That's why it's important to look at our judges and look at our DAs. This will make the Black community look closer at those elections nationwide and let people know why those elections are important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt. So, well, what's your prediction, Kevin? What's your thoughts, Carter? I'm curious.
I don't have a prediction. I'm just like you mentioned already, Marcus, and like I said earlier, I'm just worried about an appeal. I don't have a prediction because you never know. They said middle of the road, so I would expect 15 to 20 or something like that. I just don't want there to be some technicality. I think back to the whole thing with Maxine Waters, I think. And if you're saying that an appeal will be mostly based on the judge, then maybe I don't have to worry about that. But if they try to say some sort of, I don't know, exposure or threats or whatever, tampered with the jury or something like that, that's something that I worry about. I really just want this man to be locked up, and however much time he gets, it's going to be a long time for him. And he deserves it. Lord knows.
Yeah. My question is I think it came to our attention that he has a history of doing this. And so he's done this in the past. I'm wondering, in the pre-sentencing investigation, will that come into play? And can they bring that information to the sentencing that will give the judge some insight on how he should handle the look that he's been given that he has been given?
They're not constrained by the rules of evidence anymore. Anything they can, it's an investigation. It's a pre-sentence investigation. We want to go through everything. If they want to, they can go and talk to, his peers. They can talk to if they want to. If they want to go all the way down, and all of that can come in. The other side has the same ability to bring in all the other stuff as well, but it's not constrained by the rules of evidence. Maybe just by the rules of professional conduct, but all of that stuff comes in.
Yeah. That should give him an insight on how to handle anything from probation to 30 years, hoping that he would see that this is a pattern and he'll land closer to 30 years than not.
But the other side's also doing its job, though. So they're going to bring his mom, his relatives, the little old lady he helped cross the street.
Are there any? I mean, perhaps they can bring on his ex-wife, who was quick to divorce him when she found out that, maybe this was the straw that broke the camel's back for her.
You telling me she didn't know? Like this was it? Like this is it? Like
perhaps it was. But she would be a good person to bring in and talk to, because she can, now that she's no longer, constrained by husband-wife privilege, she can come on and say exactly what she wants to say about him.
All right. Chauvin was he was that guy for a while.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who knew exactly who he was.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. My prediction is disappointment. Somebody's gonna be mad.
I'm gonna say this. Just to be transparent, I don't wish jail on no one. I think being incarcerated is a horrible thing for a family, horrible thing for anyone. But based on the injustice that took place with George Floyd, if we had the federal act of the George Floyd Act passed, the accountability will be all the way across the board, and we wouldn't even be having this discussion, because even at a federal level, we know that justice would be served. But because we have to see what's going to happen at this municipal level, or at this or this particular judicial jurisdiction, and we'll see what happens. I'll be honest with you. I hate for anybody to get sentenced. Now, there's some people we need off the streets, but I think sometimes jail just makes it worse. In this case, what this young man did, putting his knee on George Floyd, he needs to have a significant sentence. That's just the way it needs to be. In order, according to our justice system, that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
It's gonna be scary. I don't think anybody's gonna be happy. Period.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Whoa! We need a button. We need a button. All of us agree to one thing. We need like some kind of confetti. Hey, talk to the IT guy and see if we can get some confetti.
Omar, we're talking to you.
I was saying my IT person is a little busy right now.
Right. Exactly. So just last bit, I guess. Nicole Johnston came on. It's so weird not to say councilwoman, but she was on. And thank her for tuning in.
Is she done?
Is she still on? Is she still listening?
She had to go do something else.
But so she's a councilwoman, though, right? Like she's got like a date.
No, her last meeting was last Monday, and I just want to say she was a phenomenal council member, represented Ward 2 great, represented the city great, and did a lot for the city of Aurora. She's going to be missed on city council, and I just want to say she did a lot for the Aurora branch of the NAACP as well. And we got some good news we're going to be dropping in regards to the NAACP. Some good things that have just taken place recently. And I got to say, Councilmember Nicole Johnston played a hand in that, as well as Councilmember Hiltz and a few other council members.
Excellent.
Nice.
And her replacement, quote unquote replacement, well, you don't replace her, but the person who's going to be stepping into this role for the remainder until November, I guess the council votes on soon. I think maybe next Monday or so. So
they just did their interviews, I think yesterday or the day before.
Yep, exactly.
Would now be a good time to contact your council person?
Yep.
Well, I can't contact my council person because she's not on the council anymore. So.
But you can contact her at large council members.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Allison Hiltz, I sure can. Absolutely.
Yep. Contact Curtis Gardner. Contact Gruber.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget who else. Oh, Angela Lawson.
Yep.
Mike Kaufman.
Angela's at large. We need to have her on to talk about it.
Yeah.
We can get her back again.
You know, I want to
say Mike Kaufman. Short text said Mike Kaufman. I'm wondering why. Why did you say that?
What's that gonna do?
I'm gonna go back to my statement I was about to say I want to pray for those families that where that building collapsed. I believe it's Miami.
Miami.
Yep. Just want to pray for those families. That's a tough one. They say it's still like 90 people missing or something like that. And just want to keep them in our prayers.
Our thoughts are with them.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, hey Omar, we were looking for you. You came in last due to IT. Finish us out with a dope black thought, brother.
I'm gonna say this. My dope black thought is that when people say the black community doesn't come together and that the black community doesn't work together, I'm gonna say I must be living in a totally different world, because I believe in this beautiful black community we have in the Denver metro region, and especially Aurora, Colorado. And looking forward to the news I'll be able to share of the Aurora branch of the NAACP because of the work many of us done as a collective. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Well, with that, it's 59 minutes and 18 seconds on this show today.
Playoff game.
That's right.
Yeah.
Game already started.
We still got 3 quarters left.
All right.
Gotta watch.
All right. Peace to y'all. See you Saturday. Looking forward to the convo. It's gonna be hot. Tune in.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right. Peace, everyone.
Take it easy, man.
What is love? It's a drug. Let it rotate, get back in it. Calling me an Uber just to get back to you. The cash out like fate, I spend it. Is it really worth the wait? I don't get it. If I didn't gravitate, taste that.